really thought with you tonight we were gonna like pound back the booze, right? But I guess you drink so much with work, you don't drink much outside of it, or?
I don't actually. I think that it's a common misconception that just because I work in the bar industry, that I drink whenever I can. I think it's one of those things where you work with it so much, that you just need a break every once in a while.
Yeah,
and also I enjoy having clarity, especially doing things like this, and so yeah, man, I'm a tea guy.
When you're at work, though, you also don't drink, right? Well, I guess a little bit towards the end.
A little bit, it's always great to grab a beer at the end of the shift. Grab a glass of wine and whatnot.
A little bit. Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. But no, man. I like I like staying having a clear head. When taking care of the guests.
Do you have like a favorite drink at this point, or is it just way too many to choose from?
Dude, I drink a lot of wine.
Really?
I do enjoy wine.
Okay, so this is like a new thing for me.
Right.
Because I just turned 30, and like my body just cannot handle pounding back gin and tonics, whiskeys, like 6 days a week anymore.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I've recently gotten into wine, and I've been trying to get into like Chinese wine. Like Ningxia produces some pretty good wine, I think. Right?
Absolutely.
And just based because of the taxes and shit, like the quality of wine you get for what you pay from Ningxia is much better than like French or Chilean or wherever else. So that's really cool. Let me just quickly kind of back us up a little bit. So you have I'm going to call this, I don't know what you call this, but this is like a famous bar in Shanghai. Like, honestly, it is. At least
it's a cocktail bar.
Yeah, amongst our community, I would say, I've been here 7 years. The entirety of the 7 years, you've been very hot still. Like, this is almost one of those like fail-safe bars in Shanghai. Knock on wood.
Knocking on wood.
Knock on wood, yeah. Union Trading Company, Union Trading Co., Fengyang Lu, Fuxing Lu. I was listening to Emily's podcast. This wasn't the original plan for you, right? Like you went to school for something else.
I did go to school for hotel restaurant management.
Yeah.
I double majored in school, hotel restaurant management and finance.
So you had to get that Asian bit in there, right?
I had to get the Asian bit in there, man. I had to make my mom happy. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, I understand. Yeah.
No, the original, game plan was to start working for hotels.
Right.
I think that, being not quite clear exactly what you want to do when you're in college, I think that a fail-safe way of going about things is going the corporate route, right?
Sure.
Graduate from, the University of Houston, start working for a corporate hotel, climb your way up.
Yeah.
That was the original idea.
Right. And then somewhere along the way that changed.
Somewhere around the way that changed, I started bartending for a hotel in downtown Houston for no other reason than just because bartending made more tips.
It did. Yeah,
right.
Especially in like the West, like in America and Canada as well. Like, you live on those tips.
Absolutely. Especially if you work in hospitality. So it just made more tips, and I needed to pay for school. So, for me, that was just kind of like, a no-brainer. And it wasn't really until I started bartending that I realized that, I absolutely fell in love with the job. I fell in love with how the job made people feel. So yeah, man, I just, everything just started from there, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of bartending in general, because I'm sure you get some sad drunks, but for the most part, you're around people who are happy. I never got to that level. Like the closest I ever got to bartending was bar backing.
Heard. Make that money however you can, brother.
Yeah. Because I was in Canada, the legal age was 19. I was 18 at the time, and I was just like, they couldn't teach me. But I think from the outside, bartending is one of these things that is just like anybody can do this. And I probably, to an extent, there's like YouTube videos and stuff like that as well, right? But when you take it to the next level, it is very different, I imagine.
Absolutely, man. I think that, you're not wrong. Everybody can bartend,
right?
Right. But I think to be a good bartender, it's something completely different, because I think one thing that people don't understand, being a bartender goes much beyond than just pouring a bunch of stuff, and making a drink.
Right.
I think that, and I've said this a lot of times in other places where, you kind of have to understand why a bar exists. A bar is not the most cost-efficient way to socialize.
It's definitely
right? Exactly.
Especially in this city.
Right. And some people can argue in a much more juvenile way, but booze is not something that you need to survive.
No.
right?
Yeah, I would disagree with that, but okay.
Absolutely. But also like booze itself, right? If you buy booze at 7-Eleven, it's going to be much more cheaper than go to somewhere else. But I think that I think that one thing that people understand is that bars are those safe social havens where you can walk in and leave all your baggage at the door. People go to bars because they're happy. They're there to celebrate. It's a birthday, it's an anniversary, they got a raise, or for the complete opposite reasons, right? They're broke, they just got a divorce, they just lost their job. But at the end of the day, what they want is the same thing. They want to walk out the door happier than when they came in. And that can only be achieved by human connection. A bottle of booze is a bottle of booze.
Right.
It's a lubricant for social interaction. But I mean, coming to Union, getting a 88 quiet old fashioned is not going to be that much different from getting pour yourself a glass of whiskey at home.
Right.
But with that interaction with the bartenders, with the people around you, being shown that empathy, I think that is the major job of us. Bartenders, we are, the one little handle within a very, very big umbrella that is the service industry. So.
You're small handle in the entire umbrella, but you're a very fucking important handle, right?
I like to think so.
Yeah, but the most important handle. It's so interesting how you described it. I never thought about a bar that way. So Justin and I record our second episode. We talk a lot about alcohol and also just Asian attitudes towards alcohol. But I never thought about a bar that way. And hearing you explain that makes me want to go to a bar. Right. It's like, you're absolutely right. And I think maybe that's why I don't go to a lot of bars these days anymore, because I don't have that mentality. No one's ever explained it to me that way.
Sure.
Like, my relationship with alcohol is very different. Right. My relationship with alcohol started in my teenage years.
Sure.
Like, heavy alcohol.
Sure.
Right? So it was not through this experience, which I think probably a lot of people are introduced to alcohol through this experience.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Maybe, right? Parties, bars, same
parties, bars.
I
think coming from the States, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Just because it is so ingrained within, the college culture that is the United States, for sure, or for example, my first ever experience with alcohol when I was like 4. I remember clearly I was at my friend Steven's house in Plano, Texas.
Great name.
Steven Chen, shout out. Yeah. We somehow got our hands on a bottle of Bombay Sapphire. Yeah. And then went to Walmart to buy this horrible blue raspberry, whatever bullshit it is.
Vodka?
No, Chaser. It's just it's like a blue raspberry syrup. Yeah. Why is it blue? Why is it raspberry? We don't know.
Raspberry? What the fuck, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Walmart, baby.
Yeah. Especially in Texas.
Exactly. Man, I just remember just having 2 drinks of that and puking my guts out. But no, obviously, growing up in the States, the culture of drinking itself is so different.
Yeah, for sure.
I think definitely for China, a bar is a very good template. It's a very safe template for people to experience, their first cocktail or, that first social interaction within a bar itself. That
first social interaction in a bar in China, I think you are probably the most interesting person. I mean, maybe Eddie as well, Eddie, right? But, I don't know many other people who have seen that transformation here.
Sure.
Right? And look, some of the feedback we've gotten is too Shanghai-centric of a podcast, which is fine, whatever. But when I first came here, 2012. Sure. You've been here how long?
I came here 2011.
Okay, so almost the same, right? Almost the same. No cocktails. Not like what it is now, essentially. Like, you more or less have pioneered this, right? You're more, not just the actual cocktail, but also the environment. Like, when I go out to fucking bars now, it is way more Chinese people.
Sure, absolutely.
Like, way more.
We start seeing that at Union as well.
Yeah. Right? Probably a couple of years ago even, right? You guys probably led that charge.
Yeah, definitely.
But, it's just seeing that entire change in China must have been so interesting from the inside.
Dude, it's great, man. I think that, we're lucky to be in Shanghai because Shanghai itself is such an international city.
It's a bubble. Especially where you and I are. This
is also very true.
We do not live in China. This is not,
We do not. Yeah. We do not, man. But no, it is interesting, dude. You you start seeing a more and more local client base.
Yeah.
You start, but I think that also speaks to development of the country in general, right?
For sure.
Like, you're looking at a huge rising middle class that is much more well-traveled, well-educated, have more disposable income, and have a taste for better things or more unique experiences, so to speak. I think that the change of the clientele is very much a mirror of, where China is going in general.
Right, yeah. It's a mirror not just of where China is going, but I think a mirror of where Shanghai is going.
Definitely.
Right? Like where Shanghai is at. Because you go to, you travel a lot for work. I don't know where you actually go. I just see your WeChat. This is, but I'm sure even when you go to Shenzhen, it's not the same. Like I'm sure Shenzhen is also, fairly high up in terms of bar adoption, but like you go to Hangzhou, it's probably not the same as what it is here.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. I just came back from Xiamen, and
okay, cool.
So apart from do Union Training Company, I also do a fair amount of consulting work.
Dude, that's awesome.
For various hotels and bars and whatnot.
That's awesome.
So we just helped the Xiamen Andaz opening.
Nice.
And it was interesting because like Xiamen. It's a much more laid-back city.
Oh, it's super laid-back.
Super chill, right? Super chill.
Yeah.
And I was asking some of my friends over there, and so I didn't realize this. Xiamen rent, it's super low. It's super cheap.
Yeah.
However, real estate prices itself are incredibly high.
I can see that.
So what that tells me is that it's a less transient city. Young people, there are no young people renting. There are no people going back and forth. A lot of, because, Xiamen as a city itself is so laid back, a lot of young people who graduate from Xiamen University
stay there.
No, actually,
they go back. Yeah,
they leave. They go to places like Shanghai. They go to places like Beijing. And then you have massive amounts of real estate that are purchased by retirees. It's obviously not as pumping or exciting, so to speak, in that aspect compared to Shanghai.
Yeah, but Shanghai is just another level. Like it's
Shanghai is, man. It really is.
Right? Like you've been here also like, what, 9 years now? Chabudo, right? 9 years?
Yep.
Dude, just the amount of shit that you and I have seen here, and you probably much more than me because you work in the industry, it's insane. It's absolutely insane here. I want to kind of go back to what you said earlier, which was the empathy.
Yes.
Right? So this is a really interesting concept because I'm very pro-empathy. I think empathy is just, like, I honestly think empathy is something we should teach in school.
Absolutely.
Right, like we should teach how to be empathetic from like kindergarten onwards, which
absolutely,
we're not.
Man.
Separate conversation.
That and financial literacy, but,
dude. Taxes, financial, absolutely, right? Like, why am I learning trigonometry? What the fuck is cosine?
Exactly.
I've never seen the word cosine.
Exactly.
Out of high school, this fucking.
Tell me about index funds, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I need to know. How do I retire properly? Yeah, long tangent. I don't remember what I'm gonna say. Empathy. I think part of the reason why your bar has been so successful here, and I can wholeheartedly say that as someone who's gone as well, is because of that, right? Because of every time I go there, I see you or one of your staff members, you look like. Everybody has bad days. I get it, right? But like, you look like you are happy to see me.
Sure.
You look like you actually give a shit that I'm there.
Absolutely.
Sure, you're gonna make some great cocktails and drinks for me. The environment's great, the design, all that is shenanigans. But at the end of the day, it's the staff, and I think maybe that's where it starts from. Because without that, you don't have your core clientele, right? Who feed off that, man. And then that feeds off the public, right? And then slowly over time, you've been open for so long, that builds.
I'm a huge believer in both positivity and negativity can be contagious. I'm a huge
interesting. Okay.
I'm a huge believer in that. And I think that like the approach to Union, we like to define ourselves at a neighborhood style bar, and what that means essentially is that we want to be that one bar where people can still come back 6-7 years later and just be like, yeah, man, I remember having this drink at this place at this one time with these people, right? But also it's what we create. I like to define as a community. We have a. Actually, I want to add you into that group chat later.
Sure, I'd love to.
The Union Fam group chat, right? And essentially what it is just that. When people go to bars, once again, like going back to the whole empathy thing,
right?
When you go there and the people who serve you are genuinely happy to see you, right? they want to know how your day is. You know, they want to know your name. You know, I always tell my staff, like, you know, like the way that we get to know our customers. The first time you come by, we know what your drink's going to be. The second time you come by, we know your name. The third time you come by, we know your name, your dog's name, you know, your wife's name, and that other girl, girl apart from your wife. But we're not going to tell nobody. You know, and that's the way it is, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that's my personal journey as well. You know,
that's probably a great employee brand book, right? Those 3 steps.
Totally, dude. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. But yeah, man, like for me as well, like I want to say 90% of my friends that I have here in Shanghai, it's either somehow, some way related to my job. You know, either I met them at the bar, or you know, we worked together at some point. You know, yeah, it's a beautiful thing,
bro. But like you are so good at this, right? Like how you just described. I hope everybody who's listening to this right now kind of goes like, oh, I want to go to Union. Right? Because
I hope
like
so.
That is, yeah, absolutely. I hope so too. But that is absolutely not the case for, I would say, the overwhelming majority of bars in Shanghai. I think I don't know what it's like back home anymore, because I've been here my entire 20s, right? So I don't actually know what going to bars in New York is like.
Sure.
You know, or even Hong Kong to that extent, because I have never lived there. But you guys have this energy there that I think is so hard to replicate. Right? And as you do these consulting gigs, do you try to replicate
Absolutely.
that? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that one thing that I take a lot of pride in is the way that we construct our staff.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, just from afar, I can see that.
Yeah, the way, the amount of effort that we put into hiring and making sure that we not only have the right people in terms of skill set, but also has the right mentality. And have the right personality. You know, if you have a staff that considers each other to be family, and quite frankly, if you work together, you see each other a lot more often than you see your parents.
Absolutely, right? Or your spouse even, probably.
Or your spouse even, especially if you're in this hospitality industry.
Right.
And so, you know, if you can start considering your coworkers to be your brothers and sisters,
right?
You know, there is a mutual respect and there's a mutual love,
right? And
when you're working with people who have mutual respect and mutual love, that love and respect vibrates off into our guests, you know, and that is the way that we work with our team.
Yeah. Having done this for so long, and just for the record, I completely agree with what you said. Isn't it difficult to imagine work the other way? Right, like in your head right now, isn't it difficult for you to imagine going into an accounting job where everyone's looking over their shoulder, everyone's wondering, you know, if the boss is gonna flip out, you know, what Cheryl said about you over lunch? Isn't it weird to kind of think about that type of work environment?
Dude, I can't even.
Right,
I can't even.
Yeah,
right.
It like there's no amount of money probably that you could. Well,
it just sounds miserable.
It does sound miserable. Yeah. But that type of vibe is something very unique to the hospitality and service industry, I feel like, because there's a lot of philosophy in suffering together, whether that's as a tribe, a nation going through war, or a bar, you know. And I've worked in F&B a little bit, you know. When I started working at 13 at a restaurant, my teenage years were spent in a restaurant, so I get it. I get kind of getting to the end of a Friday night rush hour shift at 1 a.m. and all the servers, the chefs, everyone's just like chill and like, we survived.
Right, we did it.
Right, yeah. So I kind of get that vibe, but like seeing you build that here is really cool, man.
And I'll tell you where it came from. You know, so when I was, I don't know if I said this in Emily's podcast, but when I was bartending at this hotel in Houston, you know, once again, like it started off as just a job to make tips.
How old are you, if I can ask?
I was 19 years old, 18 years old.
That's young. You were a teenager.
Like I was, man.
Damn.
I was. It was my later half of my freshman year in college. So the specific hotel I was at, it was located within Texas Medical Center. Texas Medical Center, for those who don't know, has the largest concentration of cancer research hospitals in the world.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Actually,
okay.
So you know, you're talking about like major hospitals like MD Anderson, Texas Children's.
I didn't know it was there. Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's all there.
Okay,
it's like 2 miles off of downtown Houston. And so you know, and you can imagine our clientele who came to the hotel. A lot of them were cancer doctors, cancer nurses that got flown from out of town, but even more so, cancer patients and their families.
Interesting.
And so you are literally serving people who are going through the worst things that they can go through in life, right? And I remember there was this lady, who came in 5 p.m. every single day, happy hour, right? Every single day for like, I don't know, 3 weeks.
What was her drink?
A Manhattan.
Isn't that crazy how you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember her husband and all 3 of her sons were having chemo next door. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's like
tough.
So when you're facing someone like that,
She should be drinking something stronger.
yeah. I mean, I just remember like 2 Manhattans tops, and then like she'll just leave.
Yeah.
But like this is someone who's literally going through the worst fucking bullshit anyone can ever go through, right? What do you say to someone like that? Right? You're gonna be like, oh, everything's gonna be okay. Go fuck yourself, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, right? Like, you know, everything's gonna be all right. I know you're pain. Really don't.
Yeah.
How dare you? Yeah. Right? So, you know,
what do you do in that case? Do you just listen, or like what?
So I listen. Yeah. But then what I decided to do was that I was gonna make myself a goal, because all of a sudden it wasn't until that situation that I started realizing that this lady who's going through the worst things in her life decides to come and sit in front of me every single day, right? And so I was like, okay, so
interesting.
I was like, okay, well, you know, let's make her time worth it, right? So I made myself a goal. I was like, every single time she comes in, I'm gonna make her smile. I'm gonna make her laugh, right?
Dude,
even
really cool
for like 5 seconds, at least I knew that I made her life 5 seconds better that day.
Right.
So therefore, I fucking did my job.
Right.
And so
Dude,
I was like,
tough, man.
what the fuck am I gonna do, right? Like, dude, and I was just acting a clown, man. Yeah. I was like, all right, you know, like every other day, I was like, okay, so I'm gonna come up with a new dirty joke that's completely inappropriate for a 60-year-old lady. Yeah. I'm gonna act a clown behind a bar and accidentally trip and fall some stupid shit. Yeah. Just go full on Charlie Chaplin with her, you know, whatever, right? And it worked, you know, and it worked, and you can tell that, like, you know, the more you do these, the more she's comfortable with you, and the more she opens up, you know? And eventually you start understanding that you became that outlet for her. You became that haven, that refuge every single day, knowing that she can come to you to sit at that bar, have a Manhattan, and just watch you act a fool. You know, and I thought that was very, very beautiful. And I think that was like the ultimate case that really just kind of hooked me into bartending, and I just stayed since.
I can see why you've stayed this long. Like, I think that's a beautiful way to kind of get into it, because you know, I think most people get into bartending is the idea that, hey, I make pretty good money at 21, 22 years old, and you know, I meet a lot of girls and I get people drunk. Which are all great reasons to get into bartending, right? Sure. But I think, absolutely. You know, it's so interesting that for you, it's encoded differently, right? Like, you have a different association with what, like, you know, I'm sure you've seen some bad nights as well, but like, your core association is not just something good; it's something so powerful.
You just want to make people happy, man.
How long did it last for, if I can ask?
So I stayed at the whoa.
No, sorry, not the job. That's okay. The woman I meant.
The lady.
Yeah.
I think she was there for around like 2-3 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, roughly about 2-3 months.
Every day, or roughly every day?
4 times a week. Yeah.
Bro, can you imagine that? Like, it's one thing to have either one kid or your husband.
Right. Having your whole family.
Yeah, I hope she had a big family, man. Like, I hope she had a lot of siblings and like all that shit, man.
But you know what? It's a happy story though.
Okay,
they end up.
Fuck you, man. Open with that next time. So I'm not going through this emotional.
Yeah, I'll take you on through a journey, man. Yeah. But they end up, leaving all fine. I mean, obviously there wasn't any follow up, so but hey, man, like remember her leaving, and she became quite a celebrity, at the hotel.
Sure, I can see. I'm sure. Yeah.
And everyone's happy for her. So
it's awesome. I'm just choosing you to believe you on this, but like, isn't that crazy? Like, it's just how this etches in your brain and it stays there.
Absolutely.
Right, like in your case, this case, it's a lot of good, but like it stays there. You can probably visualize this. Like, as you're telling me this, you're probably like seeing this in your head, right?
Absolutely. I can see how the bar is, and
you can probably smell it.
Yeah,
right? Especially right.
Definitely.
Yeah,
it's one of those life changing experiences. Right?
Yeah. Bro, I don't even know how to go after this story, so I'm just gonna take a hard left.
Right.
And I want to ask you something that I've been wanting to ask somebody. Okay.
Yes.
Talk Baijiu to me.
Talk Baijiu.
Okay.
What about Baijiu?
So this is where I'm at on Baijiu.
Okay.
I drink a fuck ton of Baijiu.
Really?
Yeah. Because my family's from Henan.
Okay.
My family started feeding me Baijiu since I was 8.
Right.
Not like, every day or whatever, right? But like over Chinese New Year, for example, this shit. My grandma is she's like 80 and she still drinks Arliang for lunch, Arliang for dinner. My uncle drinks still half a bottle. Like it runs in our blood, essentially.
Sure.
Right. I like baijiu, especially in the winter, especially with Chinese food, especially with shit like dumplings. With food, and I think baijiu is like every other alcohol where it's like there's good and bad.
Yes,
dude, there's some fucking disgusting, terrible vodka,
absolutely,
and beer, right?
Yeah,
there's some great vodka,
absolutely.
Yeah, so I think baijiu is the same, probably,
right?
Right? Why can't it make that jump? Why can't we bring baijiu to where rum is?
That's a very good question.
Can you do that? You probably could. Actually.
So for me, I mean, baijiu is already the number 1 selling spirit in the world.
Sure, by numbers,
by numbers, just because they have the Chinese market.
Yeah.
And you are starting to see a lot more effort by bigger baijiu companies like Maotai, entering the U.S. market. There's actually a huge Maotai cult following in the U.S. right now.
No,
yeah, believe it or not. Yeah, man, absolutely.
How much does a bottle of Maotai go for in the U.S.? Quite a bit, probably. No,
I wouldn't have the slightest idea.
Yeah, probably a couple $100.
It ain't cheap, that's for sure.
With the import tax and everything, probably a couple $100.
I can't make that jump. Well, I think there's a few things. First of all, the flavor itself is so foreign.
So this is okay, fine. I have a bias. I very much disagree with that. For me, it's the opposite. For me, it feels like home.
Right. Well, because you grew up with it.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's what you've known.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But for a wider variety, a wider audience, it is quite foreign. Sure. Right. But for me, I never make personal judgments on spirits themselves. I think that, I always try to approach these things with an open mind. I enjoy baijiu.
Yeah?
I definitely enjoy baijiu. Dude. I'm not one of those people where it's like, dude, cheers to that, buddy.
Help yourself to more water and shit, by the way,
I'm not one of those people where it's like, oh, baijiu, go fuck yourself, man. I can't drink that shit. No, hell no, dude. Yeah. Absolutely not. But I think why is a wider audience? Well, like I said, in terms of hard liquor, hard spirit, people come from, growing up drinking vodka, growing up drinking beer, and here all of a sudden, something made from distilled sorghum. And all
is that what it is? Yo, don't tell me that. I do not want to know that.
And all of a sudden you're like, dude, what the fuck is this, man?
I thought it was made from the best rice on earth. No?
Some of it.
Fuck, I did not want to know that. Okay, all right. Is there? Because I've seen a couple of these sponsored baijiu cocktail competitions, right? Yeah. So these exist, right? I'm sure you've been
and they're
involved.
very new.
Yeah. Have you ever tasted one that is like, wow, this is good?
I've never partaken in a baijiu cocktail competition before.
Okay.
So I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
We have tried using baijiu as
I'm sure. Yeah.
spirits at
How's
Union.
that go? Yeah.
They go fine, man. Quite frankly, people actually are incredibly curious.
When they see it on the menu?
When it's on the menu.
Yeah, we can see that.
We had a drink on our... we call our pandemic menu.
Yeah. Also, it's recent then.
This is recent.
Yeah.
Back in April, a drink made with baijiu called the Kung Fu Panda.
Okay.
And it was Nongxiangxing baijiu with pandan, tea.
What kind of tea?
I think it was lapsang tea.
Okay.
That we used.
I don't know what the fuck that is, but it's
so it's like a roasted fermented tea, like super heavy, super got smoky, taste to it.
Chinese, right?
Chinese, yes. Yeah. And dude, it was one of our best sellers, man.
Okay.
Because people are curious. People are like, oh man, you can use baijiu in cocktails.
Yeah.
So
what was the taste like? Was it like sweet, or what was the primary?
It was very.
Pandani?
In Chinese, qingxiang, like how would you say that in English? Like, fresh, aromatic. I think the tea and pandan work really well, but also pandan itself actually works incredibly well with baijiu.